Yeah, ready to go?
All right, go for it.
All right, here we go. Hopefully you see the actual presentation mode
I
and
do,
not,
yes.
okay, and not the notes. Okay, so this is the extensive guide to using VMware documentation like a pro. My name is Nick Korte. I'm a solution engineer with VMware. What that means is I am a technical pre-sales engineer covering the entire portfolio as a generalist assigned to a certain number of accounts. I've worked with big customers, small customers, and I was a VMware customer before I came to VMware. And what I actually found was there are so many places to find VMware's documentation out there that people just don't know exist. So this is a collection of documentation that's out there in different forms that is my gift to the community. Because if you know where things are, you can solve problems faster, you can learn better, all those things. So hopefully by attending this session, you'll take something away and learn something new. So here we go. Think about all the different products that VMware has to offer and where you've seen documentation before. It might just be general documentation about something security related that VMware does, or product support, some product specific functionality, a knowledge base article, a blog, some kind of training course, videos, walkthroughs. They're all out there, even in vExpert blogs. But I'm talking about officially produced VMware content to a large extent here. And if you look at the number of acquisitions that VMware has made over the past few years, you can see how this might be a challenge. It's going to be a little bit difficult to put everything in one spot with all these companies getting acquired and folding in. Some of them get integrated at different times. Sometimes the documentation sites get absorbed at different times. So just keep in mind, not all of it is going to be in the same spot, but I'm trying to provide a collection of where you can look. So if you're out there eating lunch, excited for what's to come, we're actually going to go on tour together. You don't have to leave your house, okay? You might be as excited as these guys are. I don't know if you'll receive the same reception after the tour or not. You don't need a passport, and you can get on and off the virtual bus at any time. So here we go. What would a map of our tour look like? If I had to map out all the documentation repositories that I have seen in my experience at VMware and wish I knew about when I was a customer, it might look something like this. And we're going to go through most of these today in very quick fashion. Some of them we'll just talk about, some of them I'll actually show you. But one thing I want to mention, as technologists, we are pretty opinionated people, and just know that there are going to be a lot of places that you can put feedback into this documentation to say it's good, bad, it's not easy to understand, there's something missing, I want to know when this gets updated. That does get taken to heart at VMware. I borrowed this slide from the office of the CTO from a presentation that Chris Wolf did. So just know that in the places I show you about giving feedback, you may not necessarily get notified that your feedback was looked at, but it does go to people who do something about it. So as we board the tour bus, let's relax a little bit with VMware TV. So VMware launched an on-demand television service. It's not like Apple's iTV or anything. It's not like Apple TV. It's free to use, free to join. A lot of on-demand webinars are in there. You can make a watch list, share it with other people. I thought the site was okay. I hadn't used it much before the other day. So that's something, right? All these webinars are pretty helpful. A lot of times you don't hear about them until after they've already happened. What about VMworld? If you didn't get the chance to attend the virtual VMworld this year, all those videos of this year and past year sessions are in the VMworld On Demand library. They're free for the taking. You do need a My VMware account to sign in. Maybe you just really wish you could catch that session that Greg Lavender did on the CTO perspective of innovation at VMware this year. But my favorite thing about the on-demand video library is the ability to download the PDFs of slide decks. That's one of the best things I've seen come out of that. Just keep that in mind. If there's a good session you watch, you can get the deck, no problem. What about VMware on YouTube? There are a lot of different YouTube channels. You can follow them all and watch different videos that get posted there. It could be from a webinar, a session at VMworld. anything that's done with a customer. So now that everybody's on the bus, tour stop number 1, we're going to speak in generalities. So a general tool set. Have you ever had that problem where you just didn't know what version someone was using in their environment? Maybe you're a consultant like Corey or Paul, and you want to figure this out. So 6.7.0.2 with all these zeros after it, what version of vSphere is that? Well, there's a KB for this that can help you map those together. So I follow my KB here and look up vCenter Server, and come to find out this is the vCenter Server appliance 67U1, and the build number didn't really help me get there. So there are ways to map the build numbers to the versions. That's always been kind of a challenge. I'd bookmark that one. By the way, I'll make sure everybody gets a copy of these slides afterwards with all the links, so don't worry about that. A familiar tool, the VMware Compatibility Guide. And instead of telling you, let me show you. So let me get out of presentation mode and reshare here. Hopefully you can see Google Chrome. So what we've heard this called the HCL hardware compatibility list, but it's actually a compatibility guide for much more than just servers. You can see all kinds of different things here in the list. Let's just say that we want to look at storage and SAN stuff. Maybe we're looking for Synology or something else in the list. We can certainly do that. And you've probably done it before, because I need to check all my firmware versions and everything, make sure the hardware is good when I'm about to upgrade. Keep in mind, everybody, that vendors pay to have their hardware certified with VMware, certified to run on VMware products. So if whatever you're using isn't on the hardware compatibility list anymore, probably means the vendor didn't pay for it to be certified. But what's really interesting here is we're looking at the storage and SAN compatibility guide. You can actually see what's new. So excuse me. What is new in this guide as of today? Hopefully, went off screen on me. There we go. Hopefully you can see this updated screen here with one new fiber channel array type that's been listed in the compatibility list in the past 7 days. So you can see what's new. You can export this to the CSV. That's kind of cool. But you know what might be more interesting? Let's just say that you're out there and you have insomnia and you need something to read. You can download the entire storage compatibility guide or server compatibility guide at any time, and it makes for a great bit of reading. So don't think it's just an online search tool. You can do some other damage there as well. You've probably seen the product interoperability matrices before, because if I have something like ESXi in my environment, I'm running the core hypervisor here, and I just want to check out let's actually say I want to work with NSXT. What are the versions that are compatible with one another? Okay, on vSphere 7.0U1, which wasn't released that long ago, it's got to be NSXT 3.0 or above, so I can't upgrade to that if I'm still on 2.5. I love this. Hopefully you've used it before. That's pretty cool, but my favorite tab here is the upgrade path tab. So I don't know if you remember Site Recovery Manager a few versions ago, when they got to 8.0, they decoupled that version lockstep requirement with vCenter. So I can upgrade Site Recovery Manager now versions independent of vCenter. I love the upgrade path tab because it tells me where I can go from here in order to get to whatever version I want to get to where I can't go. Hopefully you've never been the victim of the back in time upgrade problem where something like a U1 didn't come out for a while and you accidentally upgraded to a version that came out in the calendar year a little bit earlier. It can cause some issues. So I really like that upgrade path screen as well. So let's go back to the Prezzo 1 second here. As we continue on the tour, it's about interoperability, but it's also, it's also about what order am I going to upgrade things, because I have to make sure that I'm upgrading my stuff in the right order. So I need to follow the right sequence here. There are product update sequence KBs. There's even one that's specific to Horizon and all the components that go with it. And if you look at one of these, this specific one shows vSphere 7. We normally say, well, you need to upgrade vCenter first. And depending on what you have, that may be true, but you may actually need to start with another product that gets upgraded before these others in the sequence. So these are great KBs to mark if you haven't already. Okay, cool. What about support? I mean, everybody loves it when they have a support problem that needs to be fixed, whether it's Sub 1, Sub 2. You love dealing with vendor technical support because you have to wait and worry about, am I going to fix this to hit my SLA? But there are different phases of support for different products. I'm wondering if anybody can come off mute and tell me the significance of this date. Anybody know significance of that date?
We all went under lockdown for COVID.
You're close. You're close. It's actually my 15-year wedding anniversary, but it is also the end of general support for vSphere 6. Now, what does that mean? If you remember, general support, it starts on the GA date and it lasts for a specific time. And if you're under general support phase, you get maintenance upgrades, patches, fixes, all the Sub 1, Sub 2 stuff, right? Then there's technical guidance. This may or may not be available depending on what kind of product we're talking about. When we're in the technical guidance phase, so for vSphere 6, we would be inside that now. You can still do email only support or on the web, but you can't do phone support. There's no Sev 1 support. There aren't going to be any new bug fixes or security patches. Support end of life means that VMware just doesn't support it anymore, period. End of availability means we don't sell it. End of distribution is we don't allow a download anymore. A couple more dates here. November 15th, 2021. I would mark that down as the end of general support for vSphere 6.5. And the third one you can probably guess is the end of general support for vSphere 6.7, which if you remember, got extended 11 months because of COVID. So if you're slow roll on the upgrade past 6.7, you don't have to worry too terribly much, but just know the differences in the support phase and don't be left behind. The product lifecycle matrix. This is another one of those amazing reads that will help you sleep at night. If you want to see all the dates for every product we sell and the lifecycle policy, you can see it. And every one of these policies is mapped to a specific way that we support this type of product. And the policy determines whether there's going to be any kind of technical guidance or if you just go from general availability to no availability of support after general support is finished. So a good one to know. Let's keep talking about support for a second. That's an important one. Most customers, when they buy VMware products, they get production support added on automatically. So you just need to know that if you get production support for an on-premise product, that's good. You have Sub 1 support, but what you don't have is root cause analysis for a Sub 1. Support is going to, from a break fix standpoint, do everything they can to get you up and running, and they'll do best effort to help you understand what happened. But if you want a formal root cause analysis for what happened and your business is demanding that, you need to point your management towards something like a Premier support. Cloud services support, pretty cool. There's a Premier support option there. Remember, with all the cloud services, you have the option to do chat support sessions, which is kind of nice. And then don't forget about extended support. So if you were left on vSphere 6.0, for example, you can actually purchase extended support. It's not cheap. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars if memory serves, and you do have to have some sort of planned upgrade documented in order to get it if memory serves. And don't forget about Skyline, right? That's free stuff. I'm trying to sell you on free stuff here. The VMware product guide, another one of those great reads that I totally recommend downloading and nerding out on. If you ever want to know about a specific CPU metric, what it means, can you move it to cloud? It's going to be in these documents. So for example, if you have Horizon, you get licensed to vCenter for Horizon. as many times as you want within that Horizon environment, technically, according to the product guide. And then, of course, for cloud services, you have all kinds of terms and services that you can read at your leisure. Okay, cool. More demos. Let's look at some web utilities now. So if we go back to Chrome, here we go. Ports and protocols. Have you ever needed to know all the ports and protocols that a particular product used? Maybe it's for a security audit. I actually had to help a customer fill out a document the other day for their security team so that they would know all the ports used. This particular web tool is pretty new, came up in the last couple years. Now, it only has specific products in it right now, but keep in mind, as I mentioned, feedback. If there's a product in here you wish we had the listing for ports and protocols on, you can email that address and make a request to get it on here. So let's just take a look. Let's take a look at the tool. So a lot of different products here. Here's vSphere. It's loading right now, but it's going to show me the product version. What is the port? What does it do? If I want to, I can download this in an Excel format or as a PDF to give to my security team, which is kind of cool. I can do some filtering by version, select different products. But you know, that's just okay. If we didn't support dark mode, it probably wouldn't be cool, right? But it does support dark mode, so in my mind, it gets the checkbox that it's definitely usable and actually pretty cool. Remember also feedback, right? If there's something you want to see, how much did you like it? Put that feedback in. Like I said, it does go to people inside VMware who work on this tool. Ports and protocols, that's a nice one. Config max. Remember the days of the VCP test for data center virtualization when you had to put, you know, what's the max RAM a host can support? What's the max number of hosts in a cluster? That's not really a thing anymore from what I've seen, but it is nice to know what those configuration maximums are, especially if you're pushing the limits. So for example, if we pick NSXT data center, we can see, all right, I can only do 3 NSX managers. I can support up to 1,024 hosts per NSX management cluster, all kinds of good stuff here. That would be cool on itself, in and of itself, but I actually like this comparison tool, and I guess they don't have the comparison. Oh, I didn't pick NSXT. So if I pick NSXT and I want to compare some versions with one another, let's say I want to compare the limits or the config max limits in these different versions. I don't see one that stands out right now except for maybe support for TKG pods, but it just may be, for example, that this cluster limit is a no-go for you when you're looking at a particular version of NSX or something else. So it's nice to be able to compare those between versions. Personally, I think that's actually really slick of us to do in order to go there. So let me go back to the Prezzo 1 second here. And we are going to go to our next tour stop. Hopefully you can still see. Tour stop number 2, security. Sure, you can get security information from the ports and protocols tool, maybe from config max, but what about general security across the board? Maybe you remember back in the days when, you know, there was a vSphere hardening guide, right? And it became the vSphere security configuration guide in 6.5. And with all the stuff we're doing with intrinsic security, I don't know if these will continue, but these are nice guides to have if you're still on one of the versions here. VMware also has a security response center. A lot of people, Twitter is a mess when there's a big vulnerability out that needs to be patched. So the VMware Security Response Center is looking at all kinds of vulnerabilities within our products, whether we find them or someone else reports it, whether it's a specific manufacturer like the Spectre meltdown, all that good stuff. So we have different kinds of vulnerabilities. There's critical, there's important, moderate, and low. So based on how we rank it depends on how fast we might put out a security response for that vulnerability. There's also a security and compliance blog, which is kind of interesting if you like to read up on those different types of things written by the folks that work for the Security Response Center. And when we publish a security response, it's normally in the form of a security advisory. Here's the special VMSA number. Here are the products that are affected, and here's what you can do, the CVEs that are addressed. If you really want to get a lot of email, you can sign up for security advisories, and you will get an email every time we publish one, regardless of the product, and it will be a delight to your inbox. So keep that in mind. And when we talk about security, there are a lot of things we're doing just in the way that we develop our software. We have a specific security development lifecycle and a lot of different activities through the design, implementation, and validation processes. You can read about it here. And then we also have specific security certifications. If you remember back when, I think it was vSphere 6.7 came out, the cryptographic modules in vSphere 6.7 are FIPS certified, but that does not necessarily make your solution FIPS certified. So you can read up on all the certifications that are available here. Now, tour stop number 3, official documentation. I don't know if anybody has looked at this lately, but the VMware doc site took on a very new look a few years ago. I think William Lamb was one of the ones that was leading the charge here on what that was going to be like. And the doc site has changed in a lot of different ways. One of my favorite things about the doc site here is that I can log into it with my VMware information, and I can make customized VMware documents. So let's do one. And if you're paying attention, you could snag my email address and email me that after this if you want to. Okay, so I'm logged in. It knows who I am. I want to explore the documentation site. And you know what? Before we explore, what I'm going to do, let's make a collection of documents. And when I say document collection, I'm talking about a collection of documents that I can share with anybody out there. So we'll just call it New York, New Jersey, VMUG. Amazing collection, because we are amazing technology professionals. So here we go. It's amazing. And I'm going to set this as my default collection for right now. And you know what? I really want to learn about Workspace ONE Assist, for example. I'm going to do a search here. I have a lot of different options in my results. Everything you see here is a PDF. This is actually a web page because there's no PDF icon there. You know what? I like this document. I'm going to go ahead and add it to my library. And notice it says that it's added to my default collection down here. No problem. And you know what? I want to learn about vSAN witnesses. And for whatever reason, that did not work for me. Nope. Okay. So we'll just go for vSAN then. I love it. You have to love the live demo, right? I can also go to all products down here and go into the vSAN documentation. Oh, okay, cool. One of the things that I was talking to a customer about the other day was they wanted to actually send all the release notes to field support so that they could take a look at those before the field support did any kind of upgrades. So let's say I just add the release notes here to my library, and I go ahead and add this to my library. So if I open my library, I should have 3 topics. You can see them. I can remove any of these from my library at any time, no problem. So if I'm a VMware admin at company XYZ, I can make my collection, I can share it with my peers. So if I share this collection so that anybody with the link can view it, I can go in here. Can somebody just hit that link and verify that it works? Hopefully you see the 3 documents in the collection. And as a viewer, you should be able to see them, look at them. You just can't manage them. So if you're a team lead, for example, you can curate this for the rest of the team, helpful information. It's nice to be able to disseminate that to your peers. But another really powerful thing about the VMware documentation site is that you can go in here, and again, there's this opportunity to give feedback. What if I think this documentation is really good or it's missing something? Well, okay, I need information about products. There's something missing. Please give me some more information, and then I can submit that. And again, from talking with people in research and development inside VMware, this actually goes back to the people who wrote this document. That is where the feedback goes so that they can do something about it and make this better. And a lot of these documents, you don't see it here, but a lot of them can be exported to a PDF. I don't know about any specific limits as to how many can go into a single collection. That's a great question, Greg. I will say that when you make a collection, it is tied to your My VMware account. So if you leave the company, for example, then nobody else can edit the collection, even though they still have access to the collection. It's something I wish could be changed, like transfer the ownership to someone else, but I don't know anything about any kind of limit. It's a great question. In addition to documentation, actually, let's go back. If I go back and search for vSAN again, I don't know if you noticed it, but over here on the left, it searches a lot of different content sources. The VMware code community, product documentation, so this doc site, KB articles, technical papers, videos. I can filter a lot of different things here. Fun fact, the documentation for what was Blue Medora and is now True Visibility Suite is inside the documentation site already. That was a fast one. Some of them aren't that fast. So it does search KB articles, and that's kind of cool. But there is a KB site, which you've probably seen and been to before. It looks like this. And again, you can log into the knowledge base site as well. So you're probably going, okay, well, what do I get if I log into the site? Well, you get this subscription option. So if any of the KBs I've shared so far tickle your fancy, you can actually subscribe to those KBs and you will get notified when they're updated. And if you want to subscribe to a particular category, let's just say troubleshooting, then you can get notified when any of those category of KBs are updated. That's a lot. I don't know that I particularly would want that, but see here, I'm subscribed to it. I can unsubscribe at any time. I think that's kind of cool. So if I go back and I do a search, let's say I search for NSX. And again, this is searching all kinds of sources. It's searching documents, community pages, think VMware Technology Network, KB articles, and blogs. Oh man, that's kind of cool. I can pick my version, language, when it was posted. Maybe I only want to look at things within the last month. By the way, you can make a custom Google search engine here so that you can type something like VMKB and search the KB site. It's pretty cool. Let's say I look and narrow this to just blogs. NSXT multi-site topologies and failover. If I follow that link, I get into this VMware blog roll site. Notice the author is not actually VMware. It's someone named Alexander. Oh, interesting. So there's some kind of guide online that they've posted on NSX topologies. That's pretty slick. You know why that was there? It could have been a vExpert or just a blogger out there that registered their blog with the VMware blog roll. So if you're somebody like Corey and you have captainvops.com or Paul, tinkertry.com, you can register your blog here. And every time you post, it will be in the blog roll so that someone like me can search it from the KB article. So if you are a blogger, please do it. It helps me, it helps you, and it helps everybody else. And you also get links to official VMware blogs in here as well. I just didn't pick one specifically. So pretty neat. I actually think that's a cool feature of our site. If we go back one more time to the presentation, hold please. I'm just going to share my entire screen too this time. Hopefully you can see the presentation again, everybody. Yep, okay. So rather than telling you about all these, I think it's more fun to show you. So let's take Digital Workspace Tech Zone for a second. And hopefully you can see Tech Zone on the screen now in Chrome here, because it took over screen 2. So this is one of Digital Workspace Tech Zone was one of the first Tech Zone type sites that we had. Think of this as a massive amount of content for anything end user computing, whether it's Workspace ONE, Horizon, or anything that's related to that. And again, I can log into this site. What does it get me? You may be wondering. Well, let's see. So if I log in again with my VMware account, in this case, it's redirecting me through Workspace ONE because I'm an employee, but I'm logging in with my VMware account so that I can see the content on this site. And there we go. And here it is. It knows who I am. It knows that only my mother calls me Nicholas, all that good stuff. But notice the latest content. So the content that you can find in these sites, they could be podcasts, they could be videos, they could be blogs, reference architectures, all kinds of things in here. And notice they come with a rating. So this content is rated 5 stars. If I like this content, I can pin it and I can say, wow, that was really awesome. And then I can go back and look at my pins later in one specific place. If I want to rate this content, okay, here's the community rating. I can rate it too. So this shows you that other people have looked at the content, they thought it was good. And so you have a say, again, giving feedback, saying whether you like something, pretty powerful. One of the most powerful things about TechZone is these activity paths. Think of it as like a training plan. If you don't know anything about Workspace ONE, for example, I can go to this activity path and it's going to recommend for me a series of blogs and articles and podcasts and maybe hands-on labs, all those things that I need to look at in order to walk this particular path. Some are longer than others, and then, okay, I can continue to the next path. It's a great way to learn. I'm glad we're doing it. Digital Workspace Tech Zone was one of the first sites that does this kind of thing, and I think it's fantastic. Another one is Networking and Security Tech Zone. So it's going to be very similar to Digital Workspace Tech Zone, except it has different things. It has links to blogs, hands-on labs, all the stuff we just talked about, but with a focus on networking and security. You can see from the advanced search here, all the different products that you might see in there. NSX Load Balancer, that's Avi Networks, of course. NSX Data Center, SD-WAN by VeloCloud. Network Insight, that's a fun one. Network Insight goes pretty well with networking security, but it's also managed by the Cloud Management Business Unit, so there's some overlap there. If you're someone who really likes reference architectures or solution architectures, you can find those here, and they're actually really slick to look at. There's an article in here. I don't have it bookmarked, unfortunately, but there's a good guide in Tech Zone, Network and Security Tech Zone for NSXT and ACI that's pretty good. So again, network and security. There's actually one for VMC. If we look at that, it's going to have a similar look, similar feel. You're going to be able to do some of the same kind of things, but it's all about VMware Cloud on AWS. And you can see we even have Cloud Field Day sessions in here for the taking. Let's go back. Cloud Platform Tech Zone. This one is interesting to me because we used to have we had a site called Storage Hub that used to have everything related to storage and availability. So vSAN, SRM, everything vSphere core storage. Guys like Jason Massey would write articles for it. So they combined that into Cloud Platform Tech Zone. So this is everything vSphere. Whether you want to know what's new with vSphere Tanzu, what's new in vSphere storage. I came across an article here the other day, what's new in vSphere core storage in version 7, update 1. That was pretty good. All things vSAN and all things Cloud Foundation. So if you want to learn more about Cloud Foundation and the different assets that are there, you can find them here, again, curated for you in order. So a lot of different things. that you can find. If you want to look at the architecture, I know a lot of the vSAN stuff, for example, they have plan and design guides, POC guides, reference architectures. It's all there. Very slick stuff. Same look and feel in the Tech Zone site. And again, I get to rate the content once I log in. Good stuff. Let's go to the vRealize site. Oh man, around the world, so many products. This one looks a lot like Storage Hub used to. So everything vRealize suite. Notice that Network Insight is on here because it is technically maintained by our cloud management business unit. It's not sold within the vRealize suite. So you can look at any one of these products. Let's say you pick Network Insight. You can go in here and look at the playlist, check out things like demos, specific information about how to do an install, what might be new. And we have all these tags. Is it a walkthrough? Does it have to do with Kubernetes? Pretty neat stuff. One thing I also like here are these sample exchange. For example, if you're a vRealize operations customer, don't forget, you can go to the sample exchange and download dashboards that people have created and shared with the greater community. There are a lot of good ones out there. If you follow VMware Code on Twitter, it seems like people are posting helpful things all the time. Let's go to Tanzu. Tanzu is a pretty new thing, came from the integration of Heptio and Pivotal and the stuff we were doing in the Kubernetes space. So there is a content library on all kinds of things, generic to modern applications, how you can get ready for it, specific resources, whether you're an operator or developer, ebooks, webinars, it's all there. Now, there is a blog and there is a knowledge base and there is documentation. So all these different documents are curated, put in one place, even though it says docs.pivotal.io up there, because some of this came from Pivotal, it is a conglomeration of all these different things. For example, if you look in the lower left of my screen, you'll see that this link to the Tanzu Observability by Wavefront technically goes to docs.wavefront.com. But again, you have a jumping off point to start with. And then here, there is a Pivotal knowledge base that you can search based on certain products. It hasn't really been ported in yet, but there's a link to it so that you can get there and search it, no problem. Okay. The VMware Cloud community, or VMware Cloud page, excuse me. A lot of different VMware Cloud products. Whether it's a VMware-based cloud solution like Google Cloud VMware Engine, VMware Cloud on AWS, all those different things. There's a site with information on all of these. VMware Cloud Disaster Recovery, the technology also known as Datrium. So keep in mind, things like Google Cloud VMware Engine, Azure VMware Solutions, Oracle Cloud VMware Solutions, those are technically first-party solutions with Microsoft, Google, and Oracle, right? So they're going to have a lot of documentation on their site. We're going to have some, but we're going to point you there on the cloud.vmware.com site. And again, each one of those has an FAQ section where you can see what is the product, what does it do, how does this work. I find those to be pretty helpful. Bitnami, the technology now known as Tanzu Application Catalog. That's the Bitnami Enterprise. But there's still some Bitnami documentation out there because there's a lot of free stuff that the community can still use. So we've left that available to people. Cloud Health, that's another acquisition that we did, again, with its own set of resources. And we even have a Cloud Health Academy. I think this is for customers only if memory serves, but a lot of training for different people out there who own Cloud Health. Good resources on how it works and what it does. Carbon Black, that's a pretty recent acquisition as well as of last year. A lot of good resources still on their own site, not necessarily folded into the VMware site. They have their own communities that you can join. I think some of those require you to be a Carbon Black customer, but things like the developer network has an API reference and all kinds of cool stuff that's right there at your fingertips. SD-WAN by VeloCloud, there's some of that that's folded in to the document sites, but a lot of it is still on the VeloCloud site. I like the idea of podcasts. I find those pretty helpful, webinars. But again, more stuff. Cloud Marketplace. If any of you have ever heard of the VMware Solution Exchange, this is kind of like the next generation of that. You can see here, these are all kinds of different products that work with VMware in the VMware ecosystem. There's a management pack for vRealize operations for ServiceNow. Technically, it's part of Blue Medora or True Visibility Suite. It tells you what version you need to use, what version of VROPS, what's it compatible with, and again, what does it do? How do you install it? Tour stop number 5, the world as your playground. I don't know about you, but I like to play in labs too. Most of the time, since I can't afford or haven't purchased my own home lab, I use VMware Hands-On Labs. If you haven't used them, I would highly recommend checking out the catalog because it is free. And I don't know if you know this, but VMware employees make these, they build the lab, and they have to write the documentation. So you never know what you might find inside the lab manual because somebody wrote it. A lot of times you'll find a neat little tidbit of information that maybe you just didn't find somewhere else. I actually find that these are really good sources to learn from the documented lab manual. If you read them, I recommend it. There are lightning labs if you only have a few minutes to do one. Here's an example, it's about 30 minutes. And then of course we have the Odyssey games that you can check out too, which is a gamified version of Hands-On Labs. Test drive. If you've ever wanted to take Workspace ONE for a test drive, but not wanted to actually stand it up yourself or have us stand it up for you, there is a test drive environment. As Corey mentioned earlier in his presentation, look like vExperts and partners get access to that automatically. Technically, wink, wink, if you contact your rep, I bet you could get access to it for free. But all the documentation's out there about what you can do. It's pretty interesting from the standpoint of being able to check out an environment that's set up for a manufacturing environment that uses kiosk mode on tablets and things like that. So you can provision your device in this environment with all the policies that are already set for this type of compliance or this type of business and play around with. I think it's cool. Again, free. More free stuff. When you play, you like to learn. Kubernetes Academy. I don't know if you remember that. That was launched a while back. Joe Beta and some of the other folks that came over from Heptio curated a lot of the content here, and they just released a pro version of this, Kubernetes Academy Pro. I thought at first that it might cost money, but it doesn't. It's still free. It's out there. It's just longer courses that you can take advantage of and be a part of. So I like that. Also, if you remember the VMware Learning Zone, it kind of got an overhaul. They call it Customer Connect Learning. And if you took advantage of the 12 months free VMware Learning Zone premium subscription that Pat Gelsinger mentioned at VMworld, you had to sign up for it by October 31st, if memory serves, to be able to take it. But there's actually a lot of free stuff on here that you can just have. And of course, a basic subscription to the Learning Zone or the Customer Connect Learning is, again, free. And of course, you can pay for the higher versions or buy a specific course that will get you certification on demand. Tour stop number 6, blogs and community, all kinds of stuff that's in addition. VMware Code. Patrick talked about it before. Learning to code is a valuable skill in building your career. Hopefully you're doing something to help yourself learn to code at least a little bit, whether it be small scripts, things like that. But we do have a VMware Code community that you can join. And there are Slack channels that you can join where people who are developers or people who write Power CLI modules for VMware or in tech marketing for Power CLI modules, they hang out there and they can help you if you need help with the SDKs or maybe you need an API reference. But there is a developer center for all kinds of different products if you or some other member of your team needs to do some development around these products. They also just launched developer documentation. So if you want to browse the API reference for some of these products, you can definitely do it, or the Power CLI reference. Shout out to Patrick Kramer, of course. Check out VEBA. It's pretty interesting, and they have a lot of documentation there as well. I mentioned BlogBeat earlier, and this is what I was talking about. It is a blog collective of all things VMware blogs and anybody that signs up and registers their blog for the blog role so that it can be searched. If you just want to look at all things VMware, you can check out this particular link. I find blogs to be super useful from a documentation standpoint. I don't know if you remember the series that Nigel Hickey did a while back about upgrading to vSphere 6.7. He did a bunch of those in the series, and it took you step by step. A lot of people have interesting step-by-step tutorials on the blogs. Another set of blogs to follow, we have a lot of them. Support Insider is pretty cool. It'll tell you what are the latest set of KBs released. It'll tell you about Skyline. Hopefully you're using that. Another good one in here is the open source blog. We actually have an open source technology center inside VMware where people work on open source and our commitment to it. They blog about the different things they're doing. So does the VMware on VMware team. That is the team that implements VMware technology within VMware that employees like me, Patrick, and others use every day. And then the virtual applications blog, if you want to find out about how we support SAP, Oracle, SQL, high performance computing, that's a good one as well. If you're somebody that consumes podcasts, hopefully you've heard of Virtually Speaking with John Nicholson and Pete Fletcher. Those guys do a good job. All kinds of different things about the portfolio and have interesting guests. And then, of course, there's the Community Roundtable podcast, which is every Wednesday with Eric Nielsen and a flurry of different guests. Project Clarity. This is actually an open source design system that was used for a lot of different VMware products. You can go in there and start using it, contribute to it, but it's kind of cool. The VMware Technology Network. I don't know if anybody here hangs out in the VMware Technology Network. It used to look like the screenshot I'm showing above. It now looks like this. So it got an overhaul recently. A lot of ways to start up discussions with other people that use the same technologies as you in a specific forum dedicated to that product set. I highly recommend it. And of course, Cloud Cred, that's an interesting one. It's basically a series of games where you read things, complete tasks for points, and sometimes you can win prizes. VMware Design. Did you know that the people who design VMware products have their own blog, but also they want to talk to customers, partners like you on how the design of our products can be better? So if you want to have a one-on-one with somebody like that, you can visit the VMware Design site. I know they had a lot of design studio sessions at VMworld this year and in years past. That's kind of a helpful one. VMware Flings. These are not officially supported tools. It's usually something that someone who works for VMware or in the greater community wrote and is supporting. It gives you a feature or functionality. One of the most popular ones right now is this ESXi ARM edition. So if you want to download ESXi on ARM and try it out on a Raspberry Pi, you can figure out what kind of hardware you need and how to do it. They do keep change logs and bug tracking, all that good stuff. So definitely give feedback here on the Fling site if you use any of these. And sometimes you'll find that these turn into products. A long time ago, I think it was vSphere 6.0 U2D was when the embedded host client became part of the actual product. So I can log into an ESXi host just with a web client, don't need the fat vSphere client anywhere in any way anymore. And the HTML5 web client. From a career standpoint, we're wrapping up here, but Kit Colbert from our cloud platform business unit, he's the VP and CTO. He, and with the help from the greater community, wrote this Virtualization Professionals Career Guide. It's been posted all over the place on Twitter, but it's several pages long, and you may not know what the career possibilities to where you could go based on what you know about VMware technologies is. It's a great document and a great resource that you might be able to take advantage of. Last thing, you can hit me up on Twitter. You can hit my personal blog. I do blog about VMware documentation a lot, and I actually have a podcast on career progression called Nerd Journey. But that is the end of the tour. So thanks, everybody.
Awesome, Nick. Thank you. Anyone want to unmute themselves? Have a question for Nick?
No question, but thank you.
Sure. And I'll make sure that Ben and others get a link to my GitHub page that has a PDF of this after we're finished.
Oh, that would be awesome. That was a question I was going to ask.
Yeah, that way you'll have all the links that are clickable and working. And if you make any good document collections in the VMware Docs site, I'd love to see it.
Awesome. So if anyone hasn't